Welcome to West Virginia Beer Roads, a podcast all about beer from a West Virginia perspective. I'm Erin McCoy, here with my podcast partner, Charles Bockway.
Well, Oktoberfest season is upon us. It's definitely one of my favorite times of the year. Certainly one of my favorite beer seasons. With me today to taste and discuss Oktoberfest style beer is our co-host of the West Virginia Beer Roads, Erin McCoy. And craft beer enthusiast Chris Brown, one of our favorite Charleston, West Virginia home brewers. One of the things I love most about fall beer is the rich color that perfectly match the season. So today we're going to jump right in and taste these 5 West Virginia-made beers, these amber-colored lagers that have been produced especially for this season.
So today all 5 of our West Virginia beers are in the Marzen style of Oktoberfest. That means they're clean, malty beers with beautiful color and high drinkability.
Chris, tell us a little bit about what we should be looking for in the taste and style of these beers.
Well, just like Erin said, these beers are going to be malt forward with low hops in them. Definitely caramel, toasty, bready, and exceptionally clean, which is they're lagered. So, yeah. An amber beer that's very drinkable, toasty, and malt forward. Very simple, but great.
Well, thought I want to let people know that we are drinking one of these Märzens, and really for a little palate reference, we've got a true German Bavarian Marzen beer from Alle Brewing, and this is their Oktoberfest. So we're just kind of starting out before we go to the West Virginia beers, so we'll know what we're comparing it against. You know, these Germans developed the style and all that, so. Well, I think it's time now to review what gives these amber-colored beers their amber color.
Well, this beer style in particular came from Germany, and it was originally all the Bavarian malts that they used that were all darker in color. Beer made from them was more brown, of course, something like the color of a porter or that you would think of today. And they were called dunkels. They got their dark color because the grains that they used were roasted or toasted. And so this caramelized the sugar in the malt, which gives them a darker color as a finished product.
That's right, Erin. And, you know, the Bavarians, though, in about the mid-1800s, started developing new malts. And these malts were lighter and paler malts. They weren't toasted and roasted like the old-style malts. So as they developed these new pale malts, they developed this new beer style that we now call an amber lager or Marzen, which really means they mixed pale malt with the darker malts, and that makes you have a lighter color, an amber color, rather than the brown color that you might have had back in the really old style. And these beers have hung on now for, 150, 160, 170 years, and we're still drinking this style.
Oh, there's a reason for that. Yeah. So, Chris, these Oktoberfest Marzen beers are lagers, and that has a lot to do with how they're made, of course. Maybe you could tell that story of how that originated.
Right. Well, lagers have to be fermented cold, and they would brew these beers back in March when it's still a little bit nippy outside. So then they would put them in the caves or cellars and let them ferment throughout the summer where they're away from the heat. And then whenever it starts to chill back down, they would bring them back out for the party or celebration, Oktoberfest celebration. So, and then that's where these beers come from when it comes to the lagering and the story of that.
And hence comes about Oktoberfest.
Oktoberfest.
So I think it's time that we pull out these West Virginia beers and do our first one, and we'll be right back with our first West Virginia Oktoberfest Marzen style beer. Okay, we're back, and our first beer is from Brew Works, and it's just called Oktoberfest.
Nice dark color. There's not a ton of carbonation going on with this beer, for sure.
Low head retention on it so far.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't know if that has to do with the fact that, it was in a growler, and sometimes...
True.
Well, we do have a couple other growlers to compare, so it's not our sole growler today.
But you do want more carbonation than this.
Yeah,
this is a little bit flat.
Low carb, right.
I like the color, though. far as aroma,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely get some malt. It's definitely malt forward, but it's not heavy.
Right.
It's not,
Right.
overwhelming, I don't think.
Flavor is like a heavy caramel, like a burned caramel, is what I would get from
Oh,
it.
absolutely.
You think?
There's definitely a heavy
Yeah,
caramel.
I think it's really toasty.
Yeah,
Very
really clean
very-
though.
It is very clean
Mhm.
and kind of a minimal mouthfeel. It's not heavy.
Yeah, medium body.
Right.
Good. I just wish I had more carbonation. It would be really good.
I think so too. It's
Yeah.
mostly dry. I don't think it's overly sweet, but I do get the caramel, like you said.
Yeah, these beers are all pretty much running between 5 and 6%, probably more like 5.5 to 6%.
Right.
And this one fits right in at 5.6% ABV. Draft only. At the brewery, they do not put much of this beer in distribution. They have some in distribution, so we may be able to find it out in bars, restaurants, and places. But I think primarily, if you want to make sure you get it, you go down to Fayetteville to Bridge Brew Works and try this beer. And it's really a beautiful, rich, malty flavor.
It is.
When I did drink this beer, which I did try it
Did you
out
have it
of
on
their
tap?
taps, absolutely. It definitely had the carbonation there.
Right.
So I don't know if maybe
Could have been a
you know,
packaging thing.
We've
Sure.
lost a little.
Sure.
During packaging, but it's also very cold, and I know that's sometimes a little too cold because I think they say these Marzen beers you should drink around 45 degrees, somewhere like that. It is not ice cold. So refrigerators, when you pull it right out of the refrigerator, it is a little too cold to show well, or
Right.
show as pretty as it's going to be. It's a nice beer. All right,
I
It's
agree.
definitely refreshing.
and it should be. Let's move
So,
on to
Beer number 2.
Beer number 2, and we'll be right back with ForestFest from Big Timber Brewing. Yep. Here we are with ForestFest from Big Timber Brewing in Elkins, West Virginia. This beer I know we poured out of a can, unlike the growler of the last one. This one came out of a 16-ounce can sitting there on the table. So, guys, Chris, take it away. What do you think?
Well, first thing that I've noticed between this and the last beer is the head retention carbonation seems to be better.
Right away. Yeah.
Colors very similar.
It is. It's a little darker, I believe.
Yeah.
Pretty similar.
Amber.
Definitely, for sure.
Yeah, it's
And
another beautiful amber color, maybe a little darker than the other one.
well, maybe a bit, not as clear. I guess when I say darker, I really meant a bit more. I hate to use the word hazy on an Oktoberfest. I don't mean hazy.
Yeah, it's
just not clear.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it hazy, but it's
Yeah.
It's just not as translucent and
Right,
clear.
right,
Which
right.
is a style you do want clarity.
No doubt.
these
In a
beers.
lager, for sure.
In this kind of beer, the style characteristics should be very clear. It shouldn't have any haziness, chill haze or anything
Right.
to it.
Well, let's see. Ooh,
I've tasted it. It's very rich.
I haven't tasted it yet, but
Yeah.
there's tons of caramel. I'm guessing in this one.
Hmm. Yeah, I think there's more caramel.
Oh, very rich.
Technically,
Very toasty, like a creme brulee.
It
type.
is kind of dessert-like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Creme
absolutely.
brulee.
But when we say dessert-like, I don't get a sweetness. I mean,
No, but the richness of a thick buttery type.
Right. And the
cream.
toast.
yeah, the toast.
Yeah, the
For
torch.
sure.
Yeah, it's mostly dry. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there is on the finish, the aftertaste, just a tiny bit of sweetness on the back of
Mm-hmm.
my or side of my tongue or wherever it is, somewhere on my tongue, I think. But certainly not what in any way I'd call even partly sweet. It's a mostly dry beer.
Again, it's got a medium-bodied mouthfeel. I
Yes.
think very similar to the Bridge Brew Works
Yeah.
that we first tried. That was a West Virginia one.
And like you noted, Chris, good carbonation.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah. And it's clean.
It is clean.
It's one of the big things I look for in every
It is
beer.
clean.
It's very clean.
But as Charles said, definitely dry as far as finish goes for me.
This beer alcohol again is exactly the same as the Bridge Brew beer, 5.6. So
Yeah.
it's available in draft and in cans, and it's in wide distribution. You should find this in like all the Kroger stores, probably in Walmarts and everywhere else.
Absolutely.
As well as at craft beer outlets.
Right.
Generally, 4
Yeah.
4-pack.
4-packs.
16-ounce cans.
Yeah.
This is a good fall beer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's very, very sweet smelling. Like that, you nailed it when you said it's like a creme brulee.
Toasted creme brulee.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're back.
We are back with Prost
Alle.
Alle. Hope we're pronouncing that right, Bad Shepherd. But this was picked up today and also in a growler, like we had our first beer from Bridge Brew Works. But this one is from Bad Shepherd Beer Company. And, of course, it's got Pilsner malt and Vienna and Munich malts to give it color, flavor, and aroma. And this one in particular, Ross has been lagering it. It was originally brewed in March, so it's lagered for a good long while. So.
Wow, yeah, that's a lot longer than any of the others. I think the others probably, maybe the oldest is 6 to 8 weeks old,
Right.
and a couple of them are less than that. I know, probably no more than 4 weeks of lagering. So yeah, that's like 4 or 5 months. So
Sticks to the tradition of
Absolutely.
Oktoberfest. Yeah.
that's legit. This is legit. I love to see that.
And this is very much more amber colored,
Right.
I think.
For it being lagered that long, I think it would be more clear though, to be honest.
I feel like the clarity is.
I don't think I have haze, but
No, there's definitely not. There's
Yeah.
certainly some clarity. Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely there. But I'm curious. Let's taste. Definitely smell some malt forward.
Yeah, there's malt in the aroma, like toasty, bready.
Definitely get the malts and the flavor as well. There's a whole lot going on there.
this is a well balanced malt. They're not really rich.
It's not rich, but
Which
you
is good.
definitely get the caramel notes. So, I mean, they're
Crushable.
there for sure. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I would say this one is less richly flavored with that toastiness
Right.
than the first two, than
Lighter.
either the Bridge Brew or the Big Tmber.
And this one is just a tiny bit more as far as ABV, but pretty similar to the other
Not
two. It's
much.
5.8
Yeah.
compared to the 5.6 with the other two. that
Also
we've tried.
very clean, by the way.
Very clean.
Mhm.
Very
Yeah.
clean.
It definitely comes out well, and this is crushable to me. I mean,
No
it's
doubt.
a little bit
It is.
lighter, maybe in style than the first two, and maybe a little easier to drink.
But a bit heavier as far as alcohol by
Yeah,
volume,
you would
which
never
is
know.
interesting.
Well-
yeah.
You would never know though.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
within the margin of error, though.
Yeah.
Right, true.
The way they
True.
measure alcohol.
No, this is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great. Good job.
Lots of toastiness for me, but not overwhelming. As you said, it's very well balanced. With the caramel, the toastiness, the malts, they play nice. They play very well
Yeah,
together.
this is nice. So
Yeah.
Good beer.
Yeah, good beer, and it's available at Bad Shepherd's Tap Room in Charleston, which is, of course, in the Black Sheep Burritos and Brews restaurant, and it's also available at Black Sheep in Huntington and Bonhoeff in Huntington,
Nice.
as well as it is out in distribution.
It is. There's multiple taps.
Yeah, I think they're out and around, and you might even find it at some of the growler stations and things too. I'm not sure, but he said he made plenty of it.
He did.
Yeah. Well, go find
did.
this one. It's
Yeah.
worth the find. It's great.
It is good. Very good. Well done.
Again, Prost Alle from Bad
Prost
Shepherd Beer
Alle.
Company.
Prost.
First.
Prost.
Yeah.
We
All
like
right.
it. We're back, and take it away, Aaron.
We are back with the AJ's Festbier from Weathered Ground. This is Aaron Jane's Festbier out of Weathered Ground Brewery in Cool Ridge, West Virginia. And this one is a little bit higher even in ABV. This is a 6.0%, which is
Okay.
interesting. It's also really light, I feel like.
Very, very good on the clarity though.
Very
No,
good
First
on
thing
the
I
clarity.
noticed. Yeah.
Oh, and the carbonation's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What do you think, Charles?
Well, I know it's made with North Carolina malts, which they like to do at
They do.
Weathered Ground. But I know there's German hops, and I'm not sure about the yeast in this one. But man, it is nice and toasty. I love the flavor.
Haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah. This is solid.
But like you
this is
said,
very solid.
yeah, the clarity stands out. Solid carbonation.
This is again lighter than the first two, but really similar to the Prost Alle
Right.
that Bad Shepherd had. But
Very
Right.
much
very
so.
comparable.
Very comparable, but a bit more clear, I feel like. And like you, or one
Yeah.
of us pointed out, good head
It's-
retention.
Yeah, it's definitely maybe the lightest color of the four. The
Right.
first four. Yeah.
Really good carbonation, not just the head, but like the mouthfeel of the carbonation is perfect.
It's got a great medium body.
Exactly, yes.
Mouthfeel, yes.
And it's also crushable.
It is. It's got a dry finish as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah,
and
it's dry.
not overly sweet. But there's definitely those
Toasties.
toasties, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
It's good.
very toasty, and I love how that really comes across. So that North Carolina, probably a caramel malt from
Right.
North Carolina, which I'm not sure what he used, but man, they're coming out and they're tasting good.
This is tasting very good. It's
Yeah.
definitely another crushable.
Caramel 60 or 40,
Oktoberfest.
I had to guess.
Yeah, and we talk about the carbonation in this beer. What's different from some of the people is that he collects the carbonation as it ferments and forces it back into the beer.
Nice.
Yeah, so this is like kind of a naturally carbonated beer rather than a forced, well, not that there's anything wrong with forcing the other carbonation or regular carbonation, but, and I'm not even sure that the other people don't all, maybe some of them use a natural carbonation, but I know this beer does.
You're just
use-
aware that this brewery does that.
Yeah, it's called
Spunding.
spunding.
Yeah.
Spunding. Right.
Yeah, no, this is great. This is great.
A beer that's available in 16-ounce cans. I've got one right there, and yeah, so
out
it's
in local distribution
in
for
draft
sure.
too. Yeah, in draft and 16-ounce cans out in distribution, and pretty widely around the Charleston, Huntington
Right.
market.
I would say this one is a bit, in comparison for me, for the Bad Shepherd beer, this one's a bit more rich.
Yes.
Just slightly.
I agree with that.
Not overly. I'm not saying it's overly rich or heavy or anything like that, but just comparing the two, definitely a little bit more rich.
Right. Both light. This one's more rich.
Yes.
Both well done.
Yes.
Very good beer.
Agreed.
Yeah, and also I should mention that it's available, of course, at the tap room.
Oh,
Weather
absolutely.
Ground Brewery tap room
Absolutely.
in
Mm-hmm.
Coolidge,
Got to
West
go there.
Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
for sure. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Wow. Oktoberfest from the Peddler is our next beer that we've got. This one also came from a growler, which I picked up very fresh today. As far as color, it's definitely darker, kind of more similar to the first couple that we tried.
Right.
It definitely has some great carbonation and head
Yeah.
retention all around. That's immediate for me.
Color is a little more red/brown.
It
Yeah.
more so than any we've seen.
And it's the clarity is I can't see my finger through it.
Yeah,
So
clarity.
the clarity's not there.
Yeah, it's fallen off a little bit on the clarity. It should be, this style really should be a more clear beer.
Right.
Definitely smells toasty. I get the aroma, toasty aroma going.
Right. Yeah, that hits the style for sure.
As far as flavor goes,
It's not as dark as I would think it was by the
Not-
appearance of
right.
it.
That's true. The taste for me is more light and not rich.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of bready almost to me.
Yeah, I was going to say
a
the
little
same
bit.
thing.
A
Less
little.
toasty, more bready.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. More sort of like that.
Which is still,
Biscuity.
right in the style guidelines and
Absolutely.
all. Which,
Right.
just what you look for. If you went back to the German one we had from Eyinger to
Originally.
start with, you kind of note that these beers are a wide range. I mean, there isn't just
Right.
one exact beer. There really isn't, and we're enjoying all these. The Peddlers, I think, I think it has enough toastiness to fit
Right.
the style.
Oh, it does, and I feel like the caramel definitely comes out in the flavor. As far as it, at once, like the finish, I get a bit of that more richness that we sort of thought about with a couple of the others we've tasted so far. Not overly rich or anything like that, but it's definitely more rich, I think, than
Yeah.
the two previous ones.
And it has the Vienna and Munich malts in it, which give it the color. And
Definitely the
that
Munich, and that's
toastiness.
where a lot of the breadiness comes from as well.
Which I like. I like that. And which I think a lot of times I that makes me think of richness because of, I don't know, like I said, sort of biscuity,
Yeah.
breadiness.
Biscuit, crackers.
Yes,
like that,
I mean
yeah.
it's definitely similar.
That makes it crushable to me too.
It does. It does. It makes it easy to drink. This one's a 5.7 ABV, so a little bit back down compared to the previous three that we
Right.
had. But again, still similar to what we've tried so far. So they're all really similar. But again, this one's is definitely more sort of copper as far as color
copper
goes.
red.
Mhm.
I guess I think this is a little less clean, in my opinion,
Right.
overall than like, especially the last two,
Mhm.
the Weather Ground and the Bad Shepherd beers. So I think there's a little difference in that just in my palate. But
Yeah.
everybody, you give it a try because everybody has a different taste,
Everybody does. And, the one thing with Oktoberfest is there really is such a variety all around. Flavor, style, color, mouthfeel, all of it. The balance of the flavors, there's just so much you can do with it and so many variations. Which is why these are cool to try.
Yeah, I mean, it's one style, but you can have crazy amount of different flavors from one style.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's the biggest thing you get out of this one? Much
The
like, well,
breadiness.
you said the breadiness.
Exceptionally more than the other ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like
It's
it.
good.
Good. Crushable.
Yep. Very well done.
Good job.
And
Well, let's talk a little bit about your overall impressions, Chris. We'll start with you and on these 5 West Virginia Oktoberfest beers.
Well, I would say Bridge Brew Works and Big Tmber were probably the darker ones, the heavier ones. We've said Bridge Brew was the least carbonated one, which again could be a matter of error, but definitely the Prost ale and the what was the last one?
AJ's.
Yeah, AJ's. Those are the two lightest,
Festbier.
and also probably the most crushable and the lighter beer. If you're a light beer drinker, go for that. If you like the darker stuff, go for the Big Tmber ForestFest or the Bridge Brew. And then this one's kind of like right in the middle.
It
of
is
all,
right in
all
the middle.
The
Yep.
other 4. So yeah, I mean these are all good beers. I've not had one bad beer. So
Nope, not at all.
How would you, Aaron, kind of sum up the 5?
I think I'm very much in unison with Chris as far as my opinion. The Bad Shepherd and the AJ Festbier were probably the 2 that I would lean more towards because I like that they were medium bodied and kind of lighter. But the Big Tmber and Bridge Brew I also enjoyed, but for me they were a bit richer, so they were less crushable for me for sure. But this one for the Peddler, again, it is definitely in the middle. It's perfect. I don't want to say I would call it crushable, only because with it being in the middle, I don't want to crush them. I want to have a few of them, but it's a little bit richer for me, which is not a bad thing. I don't mean that in a negative way. It's a great beer. It's just a bit more filling for me, I guess.
what about you, Charles?
Well, I think I've been drinking this ForestFest all week and having it with some different foods.
Yeah.
And I really like that beer with food. To me, that ForestFest beer is a great food beer with some flavorful fall foods. And I've had it with some stews and some meats.
To the point that we almost didn't have a Big Tmber ForestFest beer to have this evening. So
Yeah, I might have almost.
Because he just
That
about
could've
drank
been
them all.
I'm glad I didn't drink
Whoopsie.
that last one. That's right.
But when talking about food, I think I mentioned it in my but my opinion of it earlier. That would really go well with creme brulee. I swear.
Eat it.
Yeah, it could hold up against a
No
dessert,
doubt.
a rich
Yeah.
dessert, exactly. Well, anyway, but I think just as beers, as if it was just drinking crushable beers, man, I really dug the Bad Shepherd, Prost, Alle, and AJ's Festbier from Weathered Ground. Those 2, to me, man, I could drink those all day.
Yeah.
They were wonderful, good crushable beers, if that's what you're looking for.
Right,
you
and
know.
I agreed.
I would go the same. AJ's was my favorite of the batch, but they're all really good, like we mentioned.
They were good, and the ones that we've termed crushable or easy to drink or whatever,
They're lighter.
Those for me are better for like with a meal. But like the heavier beers, like the Big Tmber or the Bridge Brew, that for me would be like great to go with the dessert. I don't know. I feel like they go sort of more hand in hand. And then the Peddler kind of is. It just goes with
Drink it,
whatever.
and
it goes with
whatever
everything.
you want.
Yeah, I mean, it's just match it up. It's going to be great. So, I mean, they're all really great West Virginia beers, and I'm impressed
Right.
with our West Virginia breweries. They did a good job. So, thumbs up to them. But it's been fun, tasting the different styles because, as we said, there's so many things you can do with it.
And when we come back, we're going to try a few regional, national, even European, I guess, beers. We're going to come back and try a few more beers in the next part of this program. We're going to start out here, and then, Chris, I'm going to let you take it away.
Well, I've got the Sierra Nevada Oktoberfest Amber Marzen. My wife had this a couple weeks ago in Asheville when we went to Sierra Nevada, and she thought it was incredible. I have not had it. I didn't drink it, so I'm about to find out right now how good it is.
Man, it's got a lot of color.
It does have a lot of
Yeah,
color.
I like that.
And a lot of carbonation.
It is very dark. It is very rich. Carbonation's on point and perfect. But this is a really good, solid beer. Even though it's a little rich, it's still highly drinkable.
Now, would you compare it to any of our West Virginia ones?
Yes, probably the Big Tmber or the Bridge Brew drinks.
Okay, yeah.
So it's not as light as we had at Bad Shepherd or Weather Ground. So it's a little on the darker side, but it's very good beer.
Nice. All right. And Aaron, you're next.
I am next. It is my turn right now with Flying Dogtoberfest, which is obviously their version of Oktoberfest. It's a Marzen beer. It is very dark as far as color goes. It's got great head retention. It's super clean. There's not you can see straight through it. Not sure how I feel about it yet because I haven't tasted it. So here I go.
I love the clarity in that beer.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautiful.
Crystal clear.
Oh, I do too.
It should be. That's the way a beer ought to look.
This is very similar to what I think would be the Bad Shepherd beer that we had from the West Virginia series. As far as flavor goes, it's very well balanced. A little bit of caramel, a little bit of toastiness, definitely some malt. Not rich, not overly done. Really, really crushable. This is quite good, actually.
Considering the color, I wouldn't think it would be like...
You wouldn't.
Yeah.
But maybe it's the lighting, but it is definitely, it's a medium. I mean, it is a more so, I guess it's not as medium. I want to say
No,
copper.
I call that a medium amber. I mean, it's not. It's on the darker side, right? But it's not a dark beer. No.
But this is quite good.
And maybe a little more of the reddish tone too that we're getting in some of the
a little bit. And I've definitely never had Dogtoberfest before, so it's my first time, and hey, quite enjoyable. Prost.
And my beer, first one from the national scene, is Great Lakes Oktoberfest, which they call a Marzen style lager. And let's look at the color. It's a much lighter than most of our other Marzen styles.
Yeah,
I mean,
no
it's
doubt.
still in the amber color because it's got a little more, but it's a darker gold. I call it a dark gold almost.
Yeah, or
more than amber. Yeah, but it's very clear. They've cleared this beer up completely, and a little bready, a little bit of a bready nose.
I would think it would with that color,
Biscuity
which is
is
funny.
what I had to get.
How you assume it's going to taste a certain way based on color, but
oh man, but it's got great flavor. There's a lot of flavor in here. I don't know how they got all that in there, but they've done it. Great Lakes out of Cleveland, Ohio. They've done a great job on this.
It looks crushable.
I was going to ask, is it crushable?
Kudos to Great Lakes. Yeah, let's. I don't even know what the ABV is, but
6.5, man.
Oh, right.
That's a bigger one, huh?
Yeah, it's one of the biggest ones today.
Yeah, that's a little bit out of style to be that high in ABV.
Mine was 5.6. What about yours?
5.5.
Hey, all in the same style, or same range, which is expected, I guess.
Yeah, I don't get the alcohol. I mean, particularly, so I don't really taste that. Anyway, they've done a good job. All right, we'll be back in just a minute. We're going to do round 2 of the international Oktoberfest beers.
All right.
We are back now, round 2 of the national Oktoberfest beers.
I've already done my honors.
We've got them poured here, and Chris, you go ahead and start.
Okay, I'm having the Warsteiner. It's a German beer from actual Germany. This one is considerably more light than most of the beers we've had today, maybe comparable to a couple, but this is the lightest one I think I've seen, more like a blonde color.
I think so, too.
Yeah. Carbonation is perfect.
It is.
Insanely light, but still gets the toasty caramel.
Really?
In it. Yeah.
Check the ABV on that. What is that?
ABV on this one is...
something that's hard to find.
Hard to find because it's German.
Okay.
But, I mean, it's probably within the 5.0
sure
to 6.0 range, but this is incredibly crushable. A little more character than you would think in the light color than it is. Yeah, this is a well-done beer.
Definitely a Marzen and not in a Festbier range.
Borderline. I mean, but
Yeah, I bet it's kind of in between.
it's in between. But also well done. Really good. Glad I picked this one to pop
right.
open. Yeah.
And Aaron McCoy, what do you have?
I have the Devil's Backbone O Fest, and it's going to be interesting. I'm excited. I did a pre-pour, so I'm already ready. It is more definitely right in the medium as far as color goes. Great carbonation for sure. This one definitely has a bit more of amber to it. I think so. In comparison to others that we've tried. All right. So as far as color goes, this one's definitely a bit more bold, a little bit darker, but definitely there's some serious clarity there. So we're gonna see how it tastes. Oh, very bready. This is very bready. There's not a whole lot of caramel. It's actually top heavy with bread, but I like that.
Nice.
It's nice. It's easy to drink. I like it a lot. I wonder what the ABV is. Maybe I can find it quickly. Maybe I can't. I can't. That's fine. 5.9% ABV. But Devil's Backbone Brewing Company, good job with your Oktoberfest. This is good. Or
Yeah.
O-Fest.
Devil's Backbone out of Virginia, and even though
Good.
they're a InBev-owned brewery, they still make some dynamically good
They do.
lagers
Yeah,
over
this is a great beer. This is easy to drink for sure.
Well, I'm going to bring us a little bit, I wouldn't say any necessarily closer, yeah, just a little different direction. I'm going to the west side of West Virginia, over to the Georgetown, Lexington area in Kentucky. It's Country Boy Brewing, and it comes in a little 12-ounce can. They're calling it just plain Oktoberfest. But I think it's much more in the style of the Festbier style, the Wiesen style that's more popular in Germany today, actually at Munich Oktoberfest. So they're lighter, they're pale beers rather than the amber-colored beers.
Probably extremely crushable.
Yeah, they're supposed to be, and the alcohol tends to be a little higher, although maybe you could see if you can find an alcohol in there. At least in Germany. But this is this is a Kentucky-style beer.
Yeah.
Love those guys over at Country Boy, and they're well distributed here in West Virginia.
I don't see it. That.
Now, this is really crushable, definitely crushable beer.
Is it?
I imagine it would be.
It looks
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah, it doesn't have, there's very low hops, low bitterness, definitely some malts in here, but they're not the more of the toasted ones. These are definitely more in the bready style.
More like the Munich styles.
Well, it's more, just more pale, I think, overall. I'm sure there's probably a little Munich or some caramel malt in here, but very
Good
nice.
stuff.
Yeah, and very clear. Good job, Country Boy.
Hey, so all around, I think, tonight's episode's been a really great variation of what you can do with Oktoberfest and the different styles and the different flavors you get out of that. And I think it's fantastic, and it's fun to try them all and get the different flavors and the different notes and, the caramel or the toastiness or the malts or the carbonation and the different colors. It's a lot of fun. And if you haven't tried them, and even if you're not a craft beer fan, this is a great style to check out because they vary so much. I think it's fun for anyone, especially if you're new to craft beer. It's a good time to check out craft beer.
Yeah, these are clean styles.
Not overly hoppy.
Yeah, they're not bitter. They really aren't bitter. Some of them are. This one is a very unbitter. It's just you'll find that you can drink these beers even if you're not a fan of big, strong flavored beers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can light beer drinker, you can go for more like a Festbier style. If you're you like stouts, you can still find something that's really rich and toasty and darker in this style. So it's got a big range in the Oktoberfest
Huge
style.
range.
Yes.
And definitely not hop forward, which, anyone that knows me knows that I'm hop forward. But this is a good style that it's not hop forward. It's malt forward, it's flavor forward. But, when I say malt forward, I don't mean overly to where, it's too much. It's just right. And you get the other side of beer that is different from a lot of what can be in the market. So it's a cool time of year. So, hey.
Chris, pour yourself a little beer there before we
come
close.
on.
All right.
Prost.
So, cheers.
Oktoberfest and
Prost
Marzen.
to Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
This brings us to the close of another podcast. Remember, you can subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast host. Thank you for listening to West Virginia Beer Roads.
West Virginia Beer Roads is a production of BrilliantStream.com.